I got to use my little discount card, y'all. Plus, I didn't even know I was getting 5 cents a gallon off. I just learned that the other day, that my little BJ's membership gave me 5 cents off a gallon. I'm here for it. 5 cents, that might not sound like a lot to y'all, but if you filling up a big old car and then you multiply that by how many times you're filling up the car. Zerlene said $3.79. No, honey. Stephanie says $2.79. That's right, Steph. I saw it for $2.89. Okay, so we had all of this doom and gloom, recession. Now, we're here in WealthyU. Have you guys looked at what the market did today? Literally, the market has hit an all-time high. We are above 37,000 on the Dow, which is pretty amazing, right? The S&P 500 is at a new high. The NASDAQ is at a new high. And so I say all that to say that we all have a personal economy. Agree or disagree with me? We all have a personal economy, and so much of that is how we view things, our perspective. And so one of the points that I wanted to make, why I wanted to have a conversation around recession-proofing your career, because I want all of y'all to understand you're in the driver's seat. Okay? You're in the driver's seat, and that your life will be the sum total of whatever you believe it to be. Agree or disagree with me? Let me see some cameras come on in on here, because I need some energy for you. Agree or disagree? Zerlene says yes, agree. Agree or disagree with me that your economy is based on whatever is in your head. Okay, good. Zerlene says yes. Joyce says yes. Who else agrees? And why it's so important to have these conversations is so often we are victims of our own circumstances, but not only our own circumstances, Carla says, agree, not only our own circumstances, but the people we're spending our time around. Y'all need to get this, why it's important. And I used to do WealthyU Wind Down every Wednesday, and I'm almost starting to feel like y'all need WealthyU Wind Down just so that you can have the right mindset. Do you understand me? And so what's important though is who you surround yourself with. And as I was looking at the news over the past couple of weeks, and every day it was, and by the way, I actually pulled up how many companies have laid off. So here's a Forbes article. And I mean, here's a Forbes article, companies laying off. Here's a list of the 10 major companies that have enacted these layoffs over the holiday season. So here's my other question, right? Like, this is, we just heard Black Friday. We know that some companies are going to make all of their money between now and Christmas, and that yet, why would they lay off people during the holidays? So we've got Ernst & Young, Hasbro, poor little toy company, State Street Bank, Zulily, that's an e-commerce company that does clothing, Spotify. Now, come on, Spotify. How many of y'all got a Spotify subscription? And these jokers, it used to be when you started, it was like at $8. All of a sudden it's $20, like what happened? Like Hulu, you were streaming for $12. I got a Hulu bill the other day, it was like $100. And I'm like, wait a minute, I cut cable, right, to uncable or unbundle, and we're paying all this money. So Spotify, Twilio, Broadcom, Amazon. Now, come on now, Amazon, how many of y'all got? Every day I see an Amazon truck at my neighbor's house. I'm not going to say it was at my house. It bypassed my house, but you get the drift. And so the point I want to make is that you hear about this recession, and all these companies laying off. And what I want you to know is that while there are other people that are in retrenchment, there are other companies who are growing. Agree or disagree with me? Y'all with me? And so one of the things I love to say, and I've been saying to all of our members for years, is that you want to go with where the growth is. Say that in the chat. Go for growth. Go for growth. And so the reason I wanted to talk about specifically recession proofing your career is because so many of you, and I've coached thousands of women, are in the same place that you've been. That's right. Joyce said, go for growth. Wendy said, go for growth. Carla said, go for growth. Many of you have been sitting in the comfort zone. Now, this is beautiful, the way this aligns, because here's what I want you to know. Nothing grows in the comfort zone. Are y'all with me? Like, many of you are playing not to lose. And what I mean by that is you're being defensive. And you're thinking about, if I just hold on to what I already have, I'll be in good shape. But here's the reality, is that I just want you, I'm gonna ask the question. If you have been in a role, what has been your average merit increase each year? In the chat, let me know. Has it been 3%? Has it been 5%? How much has it been? If you were to look at your last merit increase, that's right, less than 3%, 3%, keep them coming. If it's 2%, 3%. So imagine, I just want you guys to imagine this. Is that inflation is growing at 3%, meaning that you guys know every time you go in the grocery store, I try to avoid that. Thank you to my husband who loves to grocery shop. Woo! I can't stand going to the grocery store. Now I'm just going to tell you. And then don't let me get to the register. I don't know about y'all, but you get to the register, you got 10 things, that bad boy ring up, it's $100, right? And you're like, what? I mean, one bag, right? And you may not have even had any, I'm not talking I had some filet mignon or any of that in it. I'm saying I had staples, right? Like I stayed on the outside of the store and I got me some fruits and vegetables, right? I might have got some eggs, maybe, I got some cheese over there. Maybe I was call myself being healthy. I'm having some charcuterie. So, I'm just going around the outside of the store. And then you get to the store and you're saying $100. So y'all follow me. I'm not taking y'all off the reservation. So I want to go back to those 3% merit increases, right? Grocery shopping is painful. That's right, Janet. $100 for 10 items and use coupons. That's right, Wendy. And so here's the math, right? Here's the math. And so many times you ask me questions and what do I say? Crunch the numbers. So we're going to crunch the numbers on these merit increases. And the bottom line is, if you're just getting 2-3%, you're not even keeping up with inflation. That's number one. And number two is that time. Many of you are, when you go from your 30s to your 30s through 50, about 35 to 50, those are your highest earning potential years. Okay, so, I want you to think about this way. Every employer, when you interview for another job, what's the first thing they ask you? In the chat, what is the first thing they ask you when you're applying for another job? Anybody want to guess? You're on the interview. What are they going to ask you? what are you earning now? Now, they're not supposed to ask you that, right? They're not supposed to ask you that, but in many, your salary, right? What is your salary? Or they may ask it in a different way. What are your salary requirements? And you might say, 175. And the first thing, oh, well, what are you earning now? And so the point that what kind of money are you looking for? That's right, Joyce. And so the point is, the reason it's so important to move, guys, here's why it's so important, is because when you go to negotiate that next salary, it's going to be what? Based on your current salary. And so that's why, 3 to 5 years, you need to be moving, 5 years max. Now, I know back in the day, it used to be looked at like if you hopped, right? Like you weren't loyal or this and that. Those days are gone. And let me just tell you, employers are not loyal, right? Ergo, you're watching all of these people get laid off. And so what is the antidote to that? Well, let me just stop for a minute now that we got a few more people in so that I'm able to toast. We are finally streaming live as well. So I'm Deborah Owens. Welcome to WealthyU Wind Down Wednesday. And this is where we talk about wealth and we take the edge off of things, the anxiety around money, and we take our favorite adult beverage. Mine, of course, is wine. And if you've got a glass of water, whatever your beverage is, this is where we're going to have a toast. We're going to relax and we're going to talk about building wealth, and we're going to have some wine and some fun doing it. So my toast to you, I am drinking. Oh, y'all. Now I got to give my husband another shout out because I am actually drinking one of my favorite wines of all time. A shout out to Mr. Owens. So this is a Cabernet Sauvignon from Napa, and now the name is escaping me, honey. What am I drinking? Oh, it escaped him too. At any rate, I can't see. Buena Vista. Yeah, if you want a good red wine, that is. So let me make a toast and cheers. Let's get to it. Cheers, 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 salute. So, why am I excited? So I love telling stories, y'all know that. And I also like to, at the same time, celebrate the women in WealthyU. So the funny thing is, this what had happened, y'all. I'm on a coaching call with a client, and we're just getting into it. It's probably the first kind of interview strategy session. And for all of if you're in WealthyU, put WealthyU in the chat, because y'all are all if you're in WealthyU already, you're going to relate to this, because Miss Owens is typically straight with no chaser. So I say, what's your income? They tell me their income. And then I say, well, so how long have you been in this role? And they say, I forget how long it was, but it was a long time. And I was just straight up said, honey, you've been in this role far too long. And bottom line, you need to make more money. So how many of you have I said this to? You need to be making more. Raise your hand if I said it to you. You need to be making more money. That's right. Naomi said, hey, that's right. And here's the deal. I'm doing it from a place of love, but I want you to understand the reason why it's important for you to make more money, because if you can make more money, that gives you more money through which you can invest, and we can get further faster, right? That's the goal. And we're on strategic advisory the other night, and everybody's going around, they're introducing themselves. And I asked, okay, so tell me, what's going on with you? And the person that I'm going to introduce to you next said, you're not going to believe this, but I did X, I did Y, I did Z, and I did exactly what you told me to do. And this happened right in the midst of whatever, all of this stuff we're talking about, recession. And so right now, I want to invite her to come to the stage with me. Let me put myself in speaker view. I'm going to pin her, and I'm also going to pin myself, and we're going to have a conversation with Tashima Roberts, who I have this, the tendency to say to folks, hey, how you doing? Send them a little text and say, would you mind coming on with me and sharing your story? And that's exactly what happened. Tashima Roberts, thank you so much for agreeing to come on with me tonight on WealthyU Wind Down and kind of share your story. So hello, Tashima.
Hello, Ms. Deb. Good evening, ladies.
Yeah, good evening, good evening. So Tashima, just tell us just briefly about yourself. What do you do?
So I am a nurse, and I've been a nurse for 25 years now.
Okay, for 25 years. And how long have you been in the WealthyU programs?
I started in May, so about 7 months.
Okay, about 7 months. And so just share with the women about that experience, and how you found WealthyU, and then what are the shifts that you have made since being in WealthyU?
So I found WealthyU. I was watching the Black Star Network, and I found your show, and then I just got hooked. I started binge watching the shows during work all day. I just started binge watching. And then I just happened to get so lucky you were having like a 3-day challenge the following week. So I signed up for the 3-day challenge. I signed up for the VIP portion of the challenge. And from when that ended, you gave me a call. I signed up, and then I joined WealthyU Society, it was called back then.
Yes.
So basically, I leaned into everything that was being taught, how to research mutual funds, stocks and bonds, the brokerage apps. I just basically leaned into the program. And what the program does is it makes you take a hard look at your finances.
Okay, and what did you discover?
I discovered I wasn't making enough money, and I stayed at that job too long. That's what I discovered.
But how long had you been with the company that you're with?
12 years.
Wow, you have been with it. And so when I said to you, Tashima, you've been at this job too long and you need to make more money, what were your thoughts?
I was afraid. I was like, I'm comfortable. I mean, who's going to leave their job after 12 years? But once the numbers are crunched and you take a hard look at your situation, and I do go to work every day saying, I'm not getting paid enough. I'm the most senior person here. Everyone asks me questions, but I'm not getting paid what I should be getting paid. And so I just took your advice and just started looking.
So so I'm really interested. You say you were fearful and you were comfortable. Had you ventured out or looked for any opportunity really prior to joining WealthyU?
Not really. I may have thought about it, but I was never really serious about putting it into motion. And that's what the program did for me. It just gave me the strength. It took the fear away and said, look, just do it.
And I'm interested, for those of you who are in the Zoom room or are watching online, how many of you can relate to that? How many of you maybe are know that it's time for you to make a move, but you're afraid? Is there anybody in here who feels that way? If that's you, put yes in the chat, right? Like if that's you, like Naomi says me, right? Like you're comfortable. And Belinda says, yes, that's me. Okay. So I'm interested. I say to you, Tashima, you've been at this job too long and you need to be making more money. What do you do then? How long does it take you to decide?
So what I did, I would say like maybe a couple months, because what I did was I went out and got a part-time job.
Okay.
And so, but at my age, I'm 48. I don't really want to work 2 jobs.
Amen.
I just don't. So I said, look, there has to be other options. So I just really need to look for a job, one job that I'm getting paid what I should be getting paid.
And how did you so what kind of research did you do? What are some of the steps that you took to find other opportunities?
Well, I went on LinkedIn and Indeed.
Okay.
And put my resume up there, and I just let the opportunities come to me. And then when you start seeing other job descriptions and what the salary ranges are, you're like, oh my goodness, I really am underpaid. And so I paid for a professional resume and cover letter, uploaded it, and after 6 months of interviewing and going through the process, I was offered the job, another job. I got the job. And then what impressed me the most about myself was they came in with the initial offer, and my old self would have jumped on that offer. But my new self said, no, here's some additional information. I put together a packet and said, here you go. This is why I need to make even more than that number.
I love that. I love that. So, okay. So, but this is interesting. So you've only been in WealthyU for 7 months. You've been interviewing so you like right after you joined and we had that conversation, you made a decision that yes, you are being underpaid and you're going to take some next steps, right? Hey, did we lose Tashima? I think she locked up. At any rate, we'll wait to see if she comes back. But how many of you all can relate to what Tashima is saying, like you're feeling that way? So Naomi says yes. Okay, we just lost Tashima. We'll wait for her to come back. So Naomi, you say me. Okay, here's Tashima coming back. Let her in. And we got quite a few people in the room. How many of you feel like you should be making more, but you don't know what the next steps are? If that's you, put yes in the chat. Anybody? Naomi, Belinda, anybody? Okay. So here's what, let me bring Tashima back up because I really feel like it's important for you guys to know the next steps. Hey, Tashima, I know the tech gremlins, girl, they're at every corner. Okay, so the question I was asking you is like, you started with WealthyU, boom. I say you need to be making enough money. You go ahead and go on your search. You go on Indeed, you get on LinkedIn. I'm unmuting you now, Tashima. And talk to us a little bit about like, what was that journey like? How many positions did you interview for? And what did you learn through that process about, as you look back now, about finding that next opportunity?
Honestly, I filled out 3 applications.
That's it?
3 applications. And I only had to interview once.
And so what do you attribute to your success?
Well, I certainly prayed and asked God to, sorry, I have two cameras on here just in case one.
Okay, that's great.
I certainly prayed to ask God to direct my steps to make sure I'm making the right decision. But like I said, I paid for that professional resume, and I do have 25 years of experience. And in a particular position that I interviewed for, I have 25 years in that position. They would have been, they're lucky to have me.
That's what I'm talking about. I mean, the attitude. And so I'd love to hear, like, you applied for 3, you interviewed for 1. What was the feedback that you got from this from the folks about why they hired you?
The feedback was my years of experience, and my glowing references, because I was able to get a reference from my old manager, my current manager, both of my current managers, and an old manager. I didn't have any references from old coworkers or colleagues, all managers, and they all gave me glowing references. And basically just my the packet that I put together of all the committees I've been on, the clinics I've run with, at work, the work I've actually done over my 25-year career, and showing leadership in my position. And that's what they were looking for. All the things you do at work and you don't realize that you're doing it, I had in an Excel sheet. I know the date that I did it, the number of people that I attended, and then I can just put all that together.
So you were already see, this is why y'all, hey, nugget. I want when you guys hear a nugget, right? That something that's dropped that you can take, put nugget in the chat, right? That's a nugget. And that's very, very important. And I'm so glad you brought that up, Tashima, is that you need to be documenting your successes. Now, that's important for a number of reasons, lady. It's important for when you go for your annual or semi-annual reviews, that you document, and that when you're sitting down with your manager, you're able to say, I attended this conference, or I did this project, and that decreased problems, or whatever, right? That's right. If you all stay ready so you won't have to be ready. That's what Paula says. Now, I'm interested though, Tashima, is this something that you always did?
It's not something that I always did. I started about 8 years ago when I started working with an older woman. My friend Liz had to be well into her 70s, but she used to run a VNA service, a visiting nursing agency. So she was more in the corporate world, and she gave me that advice. And from that point on, that's what I've always done. Not that it made a difference. I still would get 3% and they wouldn't budge on it, but at least, I had it on record.
Ooh, but you had it. Okay, so this is very important, ladies. I want you to listen, because this is the topic tonight. If you're just joining us, we're on WealthyU Wind Down and having a conversation with one of our WealthyU members, our legacy wealth builder. And she's talking about how she decided, I'm not making enough money. When she came to WealthyU, and it was revealed that she should be making more money because of her experience. And she went out and she was able to negotiate a significant increase in pay. And she did not just accept the first offer. Okay, so you would use this sheet when you would sit down during your reviews, just sharing what you had accomplished, but it didn't go anywhere in the existing role. So here's another thing I want you guys to all understand, is familiarity breeds contempt. You guys need to understand that, because what I mean by that is that when you're performing even at a very high level, because you've always performed at a high level, there is no contrast. right? So the people next to you that are watching you, that are in your purview, it becomes to be just a part of your brand and something that you do. And so as a result, many times you won't be rewarded for it. That's not, whereas, so you're in this garden, right? And you're not being rewarded. There are no opportunities being given to you. And then the law of contrast comes into play, right? So then, Tashima, you go, you interview, you put this packet together, and when you presented them to that your packet to them and did the interview, what was their response?
So I didn't have to do a second interview. They simply said you can submit additional documents to support your request for a pay increase. And so I did that. And so they took a week to decide, and they came back with an additional 10K.
So you didn't interview a second time? Like they took your resume, they scheduled you for an interview. You interview, was this a virtual interview?
Yes.
Okay. A virtual interview, you interview, they come back, they make the offer. So they make the offer, the initial offer. What are you thinking at that point? Great, I got this opportunity, but what?
Great, I got this opportunity. It was more than I thought they were going to offer to begin with. And then I started thinking, I'm like, I mean, we might as well just take this a step further. Why not? I can hear you in my head. What do I have to lose at this point? So I put together a packet. I sent it all in an email, and then they countered, and they offered an additional 10, an additional, and I think an additional 3 steps on their career ladder.
Okay. So I'm loving this. And I am interested in, so if you guys have questions for Tashima, put them in the chat. If you guys have questions, put them in the chat. Giselle says nugget, and I, no joke, guys. I need for you guys to set up your Excel spreadsheet and look at this previous year and look at all of your accomplishments and start writing them down. And what's most important is that you quantify them. And quantification means when I got this assignment, the unit was here, and when I applied this, that, we were able to have this kind of improvement, right? So you need to know, you need to be able to quantify how you made an impact. Okay, I am interested though. What made you, what was the catalyst for you seeking out someone to do your resume?
Well, because I've been out of the job market. I've been at the same job for 12 years. There's
Okay.
no way my old resume was up to par to put on LinkedIn.
Okay, but I'm curious what it wasn't up to par, but how did you assess that, right? Like, I mean, you could have just added where you were for the past 12 years, put it up there, kept it moving. What kind of research did you do in order to identify who that resume service was? You know, because a lot of people say, oh yeah, I could upgrade your resume. How did you find this service?
A colleague of mine, she's had her resume done. Here we go again.
Yeah, you're breaking
Her
up just a
resume.
little bit.
So a reference.
Okay, so you had a reference. And
Yeah.
so we've got some questions in the chat.
Oh.
So what type of work do you do?
I am a nurse, and I've been a nurse for 25 years.
So are you an administrator? What kind of nursing do you do?
So I work in primary care, like a clinic, so basically care coordination.
Okay, and were you in a leadership role, a supervisory role, or what was your role?
I I would say a supervisory role, but not getting paid supervisory salary.
That's interesting. That really is interesting. That had you what was there any track for you to be able to move up? Were there other roles that, based on your performance, that you could have qualified for but were not considered?
I would say yes, it's a small organization. So sometimes people are put in those positions, they're cherry picked.
Okay.
So even if it was something I was qualified for, I wouldn't have gotten the position. I'll put it that way.
Did you pursue any other positions while you were there?
Yes, I did.
Okay, but you didn't get any positions.
Correct.
Okay. And so let's see, what type of are you open to sharing the resume service info?
Yes, I don't have it in front of me, but I can put it in the Facebook group.
Okay, that's
And it
perfect.
actually is a Black-owned company.
Okay,
Black
so
female.
now y'all gotta join. If you're not in the WealthyU community, you gotta join the WealthyU community in order to get it. And so question, Naomi said, any tips or advice you can share with what to include in your package, listing what you have done in your past experience, any specific things should be discussed? That's a great question, Naomi.
So what I put together in my package were basically all my committee work. And usually with the committee work, there's PowerPoints, there's presentations, there's proof of what you did. So I included the entire PowerPoint presentation with my name and all the committee members and what we did from A to Z to affect change in the clinic.
I need to see another nugget in the chat. That's a nugget. Okay, so here's something you guys gotta you remember I said the law of contrast, right? So in order for you to stand out, 90% of your success is exposure. Okay, I want you guys to get this. It's exposure. And what I find particularly with women is oftentimes we think if we just do a good job, we're the worker bees. And that if we do more than what's expected, if we should show up early, if we leave late, that somehow someone's going to recognize us. And remember how I said familiarity breeds contempt? Okay, so the reason you need to do two things. Internally, you need to be volunteering for other committees. Are y'all with me? Okay, you need to be volunteering in committees, and you need to allow other leadership to see you. Okay, you need to allow other leaders to see you in other departments and other roles. That's how you get exposure. Then you got to get out of the building. Okay, so you need to be involved in industry professional organizations, and in those organizations, many of them are volunteer, but you don't need to be just a member. You need to be involved in leadership, whether it is a volunteer board. One other tip I want to give you, if you want to go high in an organization, whatever that organization's charitable work or charitable organization, all businesses have them, because here's a secret, it's a tax deduction for them, right? And not only is it a tax deduction, it is also a business development tool for them. Now, I don't mean to be cynical, but that's just how you do business, right? So if you're working for, like, you can go, I just saw like Charles Schwab, they're the Schwabies, as they call them. I think they're philanthropic organization that they're aligned with is, some kind of foundation where, of course, they're going to some kind of charitable foundation, which of course all those people are great for leads for their organization in their wealth management aspect. So did you guys get that? Committees inside, external industry organization, and that's where you can find opportunities. So that's the other question I have for you, Tashima, is you were certainly doing committee work internally, but what were you doing externally? Did you belong to any nursing or professional organizations?
I did, but with my schedule and just being exhausted from my job,
Yeah.
I never really did anything outside of work. I have to be honest.
Okay. And if you had it to do, as you look back on your career, okay, and you think about that it took you less than 6 months to find an opportunity. If I may ask, I'm not going to ask the number, but what percentage of increase did this new role give you? Was it a 20% increase of what you pay, of your pay? Was it a 30% increase? How much of a significant increase is it from what you were earning?
I think it's about 20 to 30%.
Wow. So, nugget. All right, I want you guys to get this. I want to ask you this question, Tashima. Imagine if you had moved sooner. What kind of impact do you think you could have been made on your earning potential?
I would be in a different situation right now. Sad to say. I think about that often. If I would have just left sooner.
Yeah, but here's what I want to tell you. I want to tell everybody who's listening to me, it's never too late. You cannot change what you will not acknowledge. And so talk to me a little bit about, you're going into this new role with the idea of what do you want to gain from it and what will be your next move on the chessboard. So that's the point I'm making. We're not playing checkers anymore. We're going to play chess. So you're going into this new role. I want you to think about what can you gain, what is your objective, and how much time are you going to give yourself in this new role?
So I've already looked at how the organization does their step in their raises. And if I simply go ahead and get a certification and let's say if I get a certification in ambulatory care nursing, let's just throw that out there.
Okay.
And I can find a way, obviously I would be able to use that on my job. My cap salary will go up another 50K. So my objective is going into this job to get certified and to basically apply for that next increase, which will be another 60K.
Wow. And that's the point that I'm making, ladies. Nugget, okay? Nugget is that you got to already have an objective going in and be thinking about what do you need to gain in this role to get to the next level. Now, I want to bring this back really to the whole principles in WealthyU, the wealth secrets, the wealthy habit. And that really is when I talk to you guys about having that from that middle class mindset to that wealth mindset, right? So the middle class mindset says, I'm making 6 figures, I'm good, right? Whereas the wealth mindset says, there is no limit to my potential and time is money, right? And so as you go forward, Tashima, and man, and that's the point I want to make in WealthyU. If you take action, boom, it can happen. And so the question I have for you, how has your perspective on what's possible for you in terms of your earning and your wealth potential, how has that changed?
Well, just
Uh-oh. You're breaking up just a little bit, Tashima. See, that's when the gremlins try to get us, when we're gonna get something good and profound. Is this good, y'all? In the chat, I want you guys to put, okay, Tashima, you back?
I'm back.
Okay, so how has your perspective changed? That's what I want to know about what's possible.
I just have a broader outlook. Nothing. It's not a problem that can't be solved. There's no stopping me. Like, I wasted years on this job, so I plan on going into this job with a different perspective, getting everything I can in the short amount of time before retirement, and seeking to earn as much as I can, while also obviously maxing out the 401k, matching the Roth IRA,
All the
and
things.
all the things.
And finally, my last question to you is, because I know this is a ripple effect, right? So everything that you learn kind of ripples into everything else. And so my question to you is, how are the people around you? What is their perception of you? Like, you've been making these changes. What are the people, like your family, what has been their feedback?
Well, my husband thought I had lost it. He thought I had just completely lost it. I'm leaving my job after, 12 years having seniority, and he just couldn't believe it. He had doubts, but once I once I started the process and I told him exactly how much I renegotiated, he was like, "You keep going to see Deborah. You go right on ahead." So at first he was skeptical. He was like, "You sure you're gonna listen to Miss Deb? Now you're gonna leave your job?" I'm gonna leave my job and watch what I do with it. So
Not yet. Listen to Miss Deb. No, but here's the thing. If you were to think about, and this goes for all of you in the chat, I want you to think about, what is the one thing you heard tonight that you feel like if you apply could have the greatest impact? Because in WealthyU, we are all about action. And I say this often, it's that knowledge is not power. Knowledge correctly applied is power. And that is the point that I'm making, is that the women that get the further, the fastest, take action. And you said you're taking action. So I want to ask you, what was, out of everything that you've been learning in WealthyU, what is the thing that has made the concept that has made the most impact for you?
I would say have the main phrase, having a wealthy mindset. It's all about what's up in here. You just learn to think differently. You get outside of your middle class world of just surviving, just to pay bills, just work to pay bills. Just broadening up your entire world. There's endless possibilities. If I would have never gotten to this program, I don't think I would have even thought about or knew about the public service loan forgiveness program.
Oh, I forgot about that. Man, I buried the lead, as my husband would say in journalism. Share what else happened to you since you've been in WealthyU.
On top of, being able to get my 401k in order and in the right stocks and in the right in the right funds after 4 months of arguing with folks. I was also able to sign up for the PSLF, and at least $120,000 of loans were forgiven. I would have never had the access or fortitude to do that because I was too busy just working. Like my career is not finance. I'm a nurse. It would have just never came across my desk. So I'm loving it.
Wow. Amazing. Almost a 30% increase in your salary, new job, 110,000, over six figures forgiven in student loans. You saw me on Black Star Network. You came to the challenge. We talked and you were like, this is it. This is what I need to do, right? You didn't know, there was no tarrying. You were like, I'm doing this. If there's someone listening who is in a situation like you, in the middle class mindset, just a worker bee, and trying to figure it out on their own, what would you say to them about joining a community and a program like you? What would you say?
I would say definitely don't hesitate to do it. The more you're surrounded by these women, you're learning, and then you're implementing it into your own life. You're going to be exposed to things that you generally wouldn't be exposed to. Don't use the excuse you don't have, the finances. We can find the money. We all do. Let your child ask for something tomorrow. You're going to find a way. And one nugget I took was when someone in the program said, consider it an investment in yourself. And why we deserve something out of our paychecks as well. So that's what I did. I said, you know what? I'm doing this for myself. And I don't regret it.
I love that. And by the way, one of the team members, for those of you who are listening, perhaps you are someone who's been trying to figure out this game. You should be further ahead. You should be making more money. Everything that she has shared, so many wins, Anita. That's right. Win, win, win. All we do is win in WealthyU. And that's why I love you hearing someone's story from their mouths and not us telling it. So in the chat, guys, if we could put perhaps you're wondering what kind of program, what's a good fit for you. I want you guys to put the link for a WealthyU assessment session. If you guys want to learn about WealthyU and how you can begin to apply the same kinds of concepts that you've heard Tashima share. I love it. I love it. I love it when you guys are. What I love about this community is how and give Tashima a hand, you guys. Give her some love in the chat because when like Tashima, here's all I want to say to you is how grateful we all are when our members shared. I heard your win and I was like, more people have to hear this. This is amazing because, I'm just flippantly, I don't know what's going, you guys come to the training, you guys see me, here, I'm doing my little thing. We have member success advisors and they're hearing some of this, but I don't really hear it from you guys' mouth until there is strategic advisory, right? And so when you went through and you were like, Miss Deb, I just got to tell you, I got a new job. I was like, what? I felt like we had just had that conversation like a few months ago. I simply said, listen, girl, you need to be making more money. Now that's just great.
You did.
You doing too much not to have more. So Tashima, thank you so much for coming on this evening. I really, really appreciate the conversation and your transparency as well. Okay, folks. So how many of you are listening to me and you're wondering, man, Could that be me? I want to tell you one of the great things I love about what we do is to just be in a conversation and just ask the question. Somebody say, yeah, I just did 6 figures worth of student loan forgiveness. What? I just got a new job. I just hit over 6 figures in my retirement. I just hit over 7 figures in retirement. Here's what I want you guys to know is if it can happen for them, it can happen to you. Really, I mean, like the only thing standing between the financial success you desire and you deserve, it really is knowledge. That's it. That's all it is, y'all. It really is knowledge. And what I love to tell folks in WealthyU is that so many of us are sitting by ourselves. We know we should be further ahead, but we're not quite sure why. And not only that, we don't even want to tell people, right? We don't even want to ask for help because there are a couple of things. And you guys tell me in the chat if you can relate to this, right? Like, can you relate to, no, that's the wrong link, you guys. I'm going to put the right one in and you guys can, so that all they have to do is go right to the calendar and set up an assessment session. That last link is what you should use. And by the way, team, if you guys could repeat that, copy and repeat that link again. So here's all I want to say to you. The reason I created WealthyU was because I knew that the way our system is set up, it is set up for the people who already have wealth to get access to this knowledge. That's number one, right? That's number one. So unless you already, well, no, I'm saying it the wrong way. The only way you get access to this knowledge is if you already have $1 million, right? So then you're considered high net worth, and then kind of the red carpet is rolled out for you, right? You get to sit down with a private banker. They get to do strategy for you. They do a plan for you. They show you how to analyze, optimize, and maximize what you have. They show you how not to pay as much in taxes. And then you even get introduced to other deals, right? Whether it's initial public offerings and all the things get rolled out to you. Because what I want you to know is that the knowledge that Tashima learned in WealthyU is typically inherited. You don't learn it in your formal education. Many of you have bachelors, you have masters, you have PhDs, you've got MDs, you got JDs. We have all of the women in our community have all those things. But the one thing they didn't get through their formal education was access to how to turn their income into wealth. Hey, I was given the middle class mindset. My parents wanted me to get a good job, get a good education. They sacrificed for me, get a good job, make that income. But it wasn't until I went into my career with, major global investment firms and saw how the access that the wealthy get. Now, here's the other thing I learned really since coming out of the industry is that some of you are asking for help and you're going in and you're being put into, fairly conservative, low return investments. Many of you have those same investments in your 401k. What we did not get into with Tashima is how long it took us to analyze and to try to optimize her account. And her employer was telling her that she didn't have access to the self-directed and the higher level return investments. So that was another journey that she's been in. But I gotta tell her, she didn't give up, man. She went to HR, we went over that thing, and I said, no, you should be able to have that because I know the other people have it. And finally, after several calls, she was able to lean into that. We don't even know what we don't know. So in the chat, if you would like to sign up for a WealthyU assessment to see, where you're at and how we can help you accelerate your financial growth, all you have to do is get that link. Or if you have a WealthyU ambassador, connect with her and we can make sure that you get in on what we're up to. And finally, I want to make sure that you join the WealthyU community. That's our group. It's a free group, and you'll learn about WealthyU wind downs. I mean, I got to give it to Tashima. She did it all. She saw me on TV. And by the way, listen, I'm about to bury another lead. This weekend, I will be on News One, not News One, TV One is doing a wealth special, The Color of Money. And I am one of the panelists being interviewed by Karen Finney on TV One. And I really am so excited because it was about the wealth gap. And I was able to share my perspective and a lot of the insights that we share in WealthyU, and that is responsible for women achieving their first 6 figures, their first 7 figures, and some are running for 8. And what I want you to know, if it can happen for them, it can happen for you. And with that, I bid you all a good night. Thanks so much for coming on and hanging out with us. And again, join the WealthyU community so you'll know exactly when we have one of our amazing members share their successes with you. Thank you, Tashima. Thank you, everybody. And with that, I bid you all good night. Oh, oh, oh.